he was getting paid for it. That's evil, personified. Sharing thoughts here.
And apparently he's gonna appeal.
Yeah.
Was gonna claim self-defense. Did they dig up the rest of his property, Dr. Ritchie? Because there's no way that you're this kind of mobster and you only did something once.
It's a good point. It's a damn good point. Make sure to look at him for more. I agree. All right, well, guess what? A Trump supporter, at least a former one who raided the Capitol, committed domestic terrorism, has admitted she was in a cult. Being a Trump supporter is a cult. Put it up. She is now out of the cult. Repentant Capitol rioter calls Donald Trump a cult leader. Look at her. This woman is 70 years of age. Look at her, okay? She stormed the Capitol because she was radicalized by the cult leader known as Donald Trump. A woman who stormed the Capitol for former President Donald Trump is now repentant of her actions. And she now thinks the former president is, in fact, leader of a cult. In an interview with the Daily Beast, the 70-year-old Idaho resident, Pamela Hemphill, says she was horrified when Trump recently used her case to argue that Capitol rioters faced unfair prosecutions. Although she was once a dedicated MAGA devotee, she now says that she regrets getting sucked into the former president's orbit. You don't see it as a cult when you're in it, she said. You don't recognize it. Hemphill will go on to spend 60 days in prison for breaking into the Capitol. But it wasn't until she returned home to her family that she received an intervention that pulled her out of total dedication to the cult leader known as the former president. Quote, my family was telling me, Pam, you're in a cult. You really need to get out of that. We really care about you, but this is a cult. You're trapped in a cult, she said. After this, she tells the Daily Beast that she started to see more of Trump's flaws. Started to see the narcissistic behavior, she said. And I said, wait, this is gaslighting. This is not true. There's more that she talked about in this interview. I encourage you to see it. The thing that made a difference for her was that she had a family that loved her. The family, they did not criticize her. They did not make her feel small. They made her feel loved. Donald Trump has significant power over individuals who are looking for a place they belong. He's exploiting their loneliness, their emptiness, their need for connection. If you have someone in your family who's like this, read this story, look at the interview, and understand it is possible to get people away from that cult. All right, sharing thoughts.
God bless this beautiful American family. You're right, we can all learn from them. They deprogrammed her, thank God. She was deprogrammed because this could have been a lot worse. She is a 70-year-old grandmother with all her teeth and now her restored dignity.
That's right, and restored connection to her family. Always a pleasure, Sharon, having you on the show. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Appreciate you, Doc, always. TYT Sports, another installment delivered today. It'll be uploaded soon, so I hope you all will check it out at Sharon Reed Live across all platforms.
Always love it. We appreciate you. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Hello and welcome to Unbossed. I am your host, Nina Turner, and in the co-host chair today, we got none other than Aida Rodriguez in the house. Aida, baby, what's happening in your world?
First of all, can I just say how hard that intro is? I was in here bopping to that and I was like, I didn't tell her last time, that intro is hard.
Thank you, I'm bopping too, baby. Sometimes it hit me in ways I can't keep it together. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here with you, I always.
We're so glad to have you. So tell us, you have a book. We want to know all about it.
Yeah, you know, I went and found my dad in June of 2021. I did a documentary about it. It's on HBO Max, and I was battling with this legitimacy thing. You know, in this country, when you don't have your father's last name, they came up with this thing of calling you legitimate and illegitimate, knowing the history of so many people in this country. But it did affect me, and so I wrote about it. I wrote about, you know, that feeling of not having my father's last name and how that affected me in my relationships with men, as a mother, as a human, as a person. And I got an opportunity to let it out and tell my story unapologetically, without rebuttal, and just be able to just unpack that whole, you know, journey of finding my father and what that meant. And just telling that story. And so I'm happy that it's finally out of me, out into the world, so I can move on.
Well, I'm sure that your book is going to help millions of other people, because oftentimes people have similar stories. They may not be exactly the same, but similar stories, similar trauma, drama, similar, you know, concerns or dreams or heart, you know, just life, you know, similarities in life. And what is the title of this magnificent book, and how can we get it? I can't wait to read it.
Oh, so that I would be honored. The name of the book is Legitimate Kid, and it is available right now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to my website, funnyaida.com. and it's available for pre-order. And you and I both know how important pre-orders are,
yes,
especially for authors of color, marginalized people, because they create more opportunities. So if you can pick up, order a copy of it. It comes out October 17th, and I legitimized myself.
I know that's right. Well, we can't wait to read it. So please, you all, make sure that you pick up pre-order a copy of Aida's wonderful book. I'm sure it's going to be healing. It was therapeutic for you, Aida. I'm picking that up from you. Had to get that stuff out of you, and I know that it's going to be therapeutic and healing for so many other people. So thank you for being vulnerable enough to put your story out there like that. So many people wouldn't. I really think it's a shame in this country that we would categorize any child as legitimate or illegitimate. All kids are legitimate. Some adults might be illegitimate as hell, but kids are legit.
Thank you.
So can't wait to read it. Well, let's have you back on and let's just do a straight interview about the book. Let's do that. All right, looking forward to it. In today's show, Aida and I, we're gonna cover a whole lot. So get ready, baby. Hope you got your seatbelts on for the roller coaster ride. We starting off with the Supreme Court of the United States of America. The Supreme Court is making some surprisingly positive rulings when it comes to elections. I'm saying it's surprising because we know the makeup of that court. First up, a major ruling from just this morning on states who want to change election laws. Take a look.
The Supreme Court here really rejected wholeheartedly that broad theory that people said would have potentially upended the way that elections are run. The Chief Justice here, writing for the 6-3 majority, came in to say that no, state legislatures do not have the final say when it comes to how elections in their state should be run, that state courts have the authority to step in and potentially overrule some of the laws or rules that partisan state legislatures might put into effect.
There it is. I'm gonna give you 2 thumbs up on this one, Supreme Court of the United States. Now let's bring you up to speed. This all stems from the Moore v. Harper case out of North Carolina. By a 6-3 vote, the court rejected the independent state legislature theory in a case about North Carolina's congressional map. The once fringe legal theory broadly argued that state courts have little or no authority to question the state legislatures on election laws for federal contests. The court's decision in Moore v. Harper closes the path to what could have been a radical overhaul of America's elections. Further, a particularly robust reading of the theory, which the court turned aside, would have empowered state legislatures to make decisions on all aspects of elections, from congressional lines to how people register to vote and cast a ballot, without any opportunity for challengers to contest those decisions in state courts under state law or constitutions. Opponents of the theory argued that it could have led to unchecked partisan gerrymandering and laws that would make it harder for people to vote. And I think the key word there in this reporting is coming from Politico is unchecked. Now, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the court's opinion, joined by the 3 liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elaine Keegan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, along with 2 conservatives, Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch dissented. No surprise about Justice Clarence Thomas, who has been just quite the disappointment. Now, my stunt double did check in on Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, and this is what she said. This is a good outcome, but also terrifying that 3 justices dissented, and it really is. Aida, your thoughts?
It's funny. There are levels to this, right? We have to think about the history that, well, what we've been dealing with in the news with Clarence and Alito and their ties and affiliations to billionaires, and potentially threatening our democracy with what they're doing in terms of dealing with corporations and with people who want to run this country for the benefit of the rich. I am relieved that these people who call themselves religious fundamentalists I don't know if they took the humanity of people of color, Black people, into consideration and poor people when they thought about this. But I'm certainly glad that at some point their God did show up for them to be fair, because fair is fair. And I think it's a scary time when we're now looking at the Supreme Court sideways. That was the one place where we at least thought that there was dignity and that there was justice and fairness. And now that we've been hearing the information has been coming to light about what's been happening behind the scenes. Clarence Thomas's wife was involved in the insurrection. That was a direct threat to our democracy and an attack on our democracy. I think it's important that these justices lean in a way that is fair.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I was stunned. I mean, absolutely stunned at the Supreme, but we gotta give credit where credit is due, at least in these cases. And many of the state legislatures across this country are controlled by Republicans, and you can see in those states they are really turning back the hands of time, passing laws to restrict voter access. And check out this reporting from the New York Times in May of this year about these types of legislatures. Propelled by a new coalition of Trump allies, Republican-led legislatures have continued to pass significant restrictions on access to the ballot, including new limits to voting by mail in Ohio, my home state, a ban on ballot drop boxes in Arkansas, and the shortening of early voting windows in Wyoming. Also, so far this year, 18 bills in 10 states have been signed into law that will add new restrictions to voting or elections administration, according to an analysis of the data maintained by the Voting Rights Lab. During the same period in 2021, the tally was 16 restrictive bills in 11 states, according to Voting Rights Lab. So thank you for that, New York Times. So, I mean, yeah, this is a big moment for democracy, what just happened in the United States Supreme Court. It is surprising because the court leans very heavily conservative, but as Aida said, God may have showed up in court today or a few days ago too. Let's hope God shows up more often. But the Supreme Court ruled in Moore v. Harper. They made another positive ruling, this time in favor of Black voters in Louisiana. Take a look.
So the Supreme Court told Louisiana that they're going to have to redraw their congressional district. They had previously put that map redrawing process on hold after a lower court had said, you have to redraw this district. It does not comply with the Voting Rights Act. They're gonna have to draw a second Black majority district in there. This is in keeping with the Alabama case we recently heard, Allen v. Milligan, where the Supreme Court said, you know what, the Voting Rights Act, it continues to stand. You gotta redraw your districts. You gotta redraw those congressional maps to make sure that communities of color have a chance to elect their representatives of their choice.
There it is. And what makes this ruling even better is there were no dissents. Hello, somebody. Some more background on this. The new order means that the lower court proceedings in the case, which were put on hold by the conservative majority in late June of last year, will restart. At the time, a merits panel of the 5th US Circuit Court of Appeals was preparing for an expedited review of a judge's ruling that said that the 5-to-1 congressional plan likely violated the Voting Rights Act. The judge, US District Judge Shelley Dick, had been considering a remedial congressional plan after lawmakers in Louisiana refused to pass a plan with a second majority Black district themselves. Louisiana state officials were sued last year for congressional maps passed by the Republican legislature over Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards' veto. That made only one of its 6 districts majority Black, despite the 2020 census showing that the state's population is 33% Black. I mean, it's very clear what these Republican legislators are doing, very, very clear. And one of the lawyers challenging the map expressed gratitude for the ruling. Black voters in Louisiana have suffered one election under a congressional map that unlawfully dilutes their political influence. Thankfully, Louisiana is now on track to add an additional minority opportunity district in time for 2024, ensuring that Black Louisianans are finally afforded fair representation in the state's congressional delegation. So that's the lawyer for that. The reporting coming from CNN, attorney Kana. Speaking of, Aida.
I mean, you and I both know how much the people of color, Black people, suffer in the state of Louisiana. under the rule of law and the things that are happening, that being the poverty, the lack of representation, the mistreatment by law enforcement, is just on and on and on and on. And the way to make inroads in all of those areas is through, the regional legislators that rally on behalf of the people. So I think that, as we, the cynic in me is always like, but the reality of it is that every step in a good direction, in the right direction, is a step, and we gotta count our wins, because if not, we will live in despair. So I'm happy for the people of Louisiana.
Yeah, amen to that. Every step in the right direction. That's it, step by step. Amen to that. Well, good on the Supreme Court of the United States. As of late, I've not had many pleasant things to say about this court, but I am glad for both of those cases, and I'm glad for the residents in both of those states. Now on to Vice President Harris. There's a poll out, and according to a recent NBC News poll, the support for Vice President Harris is at a record low. The NBC News poll was conducted from June 16th to June 20th, with a total of 1,000 respondents participating in the survey. The poll's margin of error was 3.1 percentage points. This headline says it all. Kamala Harris sets record low for Vice President net favorability. Again, that poll was conducted from June 16th to June 20th, so it is very recent. Harris received a net negative rating of -17, which is the lowest net negative rating for a vice president in the history of the poll. The poll comes as White House officials have been working with Harris to repair her image and bump up her polling numbers ahead of the 2024 election, according to Axios. Now, you know what, Aida, I mean, this is my thing. I mean, you want to bump up her ratings, bump up Biden's rate. I mean, the whole thing, bump it up by doing right by the people, changing material conditions and not just sitting up there having meetings. However, this is what they're doing. And how much of this do you think, is there any, so I'm parsing this out several ways, but does race and or gender play any part in the -17 percentage points, you think?
Of course. I mean, two things can be true at the same time, right? You want to ramp up your image. Don't do PR, do actionable items. Get down there, show yourself with the people who put you there in the first place and make some things happen. And then your ratings will go into the positive. But it ain't a PR move. It ain't how many pictures you take with said celebrity, being at the right events. And at the same time, she's being held to a higher standard because she is a Black woman. And she has done nothing different than any of these other career politicians have done over and over in this country. And she's demonized for it because she's a Black woman. And both things can happen at the same time. So I think that if you really want to make a difference in this country and you want to change your image, you should go rogue and go actually do something. Apologize to those people that you put in jail because they couldn't take their kids to school because they was broke and they was hungry and they was poor and they needed help. Go apologize to those people. Do a PR tour of reparations and fighting and advocating for the Black people of the country who put you where you are.
Yeah, that's it. It seems like you were looking into my notes, because that's exactly what I had in my notes for today, is that this is bigger than a PR. This whole administration has proven itself more than not to be based on PR. That's all, instead of substance. We need some substance and just not the symbolism. Wrap your mind around all that I've talked about in this first part of Unbossed. We will be right back after this. Don't you go anywhere.
Our system is inherently rigged against the will of the people.
They have 50% of the vote, and in a democracy, they should have 50% of the seats.
But if you live in an insanely gerrymandered district, your vote functionally doesn't matter.
We drew the map in a way that even though we get 50% of the vote, we're gonna get 13 out of the 18 seats.
You don't actually have the ability to translate the will of the voters in your area into actual government policy.
They should not be allowed to gerrymander these districts. We should actually have a democracy.
Been honest with him, like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it, but instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
And welcome back to the show. Do you get the progress report in your email every morning? You should. If you want a progressive take on today's news, baby, then you want the progress report. Progressive news and inspiration every weekday morning. Take that smartphone and capture that Q code and sign up and share this with a friend. Also, every membership makes a momentous impact, has a momentous impact on TYT. It helps us continue to deliver bold, progressive live commentary. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription service. Yes, you'll get access to more exclusive content, but much more importantly, your membership goes directly towards TYT's mission of fighting for positive change. Become a member at tyt.com/join. We need you, baby. We can't do what we do without you, boo. So join. Now to my absolute favorite, and I mean favorite part of the show. It is your comments. We're coming up with the Aries Kid Maze. Hey, the Aries Kid Maze. Now tell me the name of the beat, Miss Turner. I don't know the name of the beat. The beat of the opening. I don't know the name of it. I'm gonna have to ask Brett for the name of the beat, but it's bumping. I mean, it really is. So thank you for that. We can get that for you. Simon James, the intro is my internal anthem. I know that's right. You too, Simon. It's mine as well. And Winston Sayer, writing books is woke. Aida.
I love it. I love it.
Go ahead, Winston. Woo, yes it is. On YouTube Super Chat, we got Crystal Braden. Hey, Crystal. Jesus. Today is one of those days when it is truly exhausting to be someone who gives a damn. So many humans are so awful. Ooh, Crystal, baby. Ooh, yes. To everything that you just said. Yes, it is damn. And it's mostly exhausting if you care. If you don't care, it ain't exhausting. But for those of us who actually care and want to keep fighting for change, it is exhausting as hell. I'm with you. And Henry Downs, it will help many, Aida. And he's referring to your book, Aida. It will help many.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I'm right there with you, Henry. And now our TYT members, oh, jam. Nina Turner and Aida Rodriguez, question mark. What is the power hour right here? Yes. Yes, it is, baby. And hopefully Aida and I, we're gonna be working on some plans to spice it up even more for you all. So stay tuned, baby. It's about to get spicy.
Yes.
Woo. And then we got Crystal again. Hey, Crystal. The unbossed intro really does snap, though. Yes, it does, baby. I love that song. I want to walk out on a stage on my intro one of these days. We're gonna do that. Well, thank you all for your comments, your compliments, your comments, your thoughts. We couldn't get to everybody, but we appreciate you so very much. Those of you who get the opportunity to watch us live, and if you're catching us after the live show on video on demand, we appreciate you too. Joe Biden's administration, y'all. I'm going to my WTF neoliberal is ready to stump for his Bidenomics. Good God Almighty, and it's making me ask, WTF neoliberal.
We will now kneel.
Miss Cinema, no.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
He had a truly historic rate of success when it comes to major economic programs that are building the foundation and the infrastructure for America to lead the world, not just in innovation, but in manufacturing, in the number of jobs we've created, in exports again. People are starting to feel that now. And those factories are starting up again with the technologies of the future. And that is Bidenomics.
Oh, good God Almighty. That was White House Senior Advisor Aida Dunn yesterday touting Bidenomics. Ida, this is how I'm feeling right now about all of this. This right here. Okay, can we just say BS? Right here. I'm having a moment. I got lots of papers in my hand. I can't help myself. This is it. I'm just really, but this PR, baby, and no substance, Ida. Now, Ida, look, but the president is now taking it a step further, as tomorrow he'll be in Chicago to go all in on his economic successes. Put Ida back up. Ida, because I just got to put the script down here for a minute. I'm trying to get this right. Eggs cost more than chicken wings. Butter costs damn near more than eggs. Workers are striking all over the place for better wages, work conditions, benefits. In places where they don't have labor unions, they trying to form labor unions. Big mama, big papa, and they kids and they kids ain't feeling no love in this economy. Corporations control almost everything. We are the corporate states of America. I am trying to understand what Aida Dunn. Oh, I forgot she's being paid to say those things. Your thoughts, Ida?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you're talking about, right? Because those corporations are richer and richer and richer during the pandemic. Amazon, made trillions of dollars? They went into the trillions. So of course, if you're talking about the economics, I'm about to say something that's very controversial. But you remember them old white men that built this country they were racist as hell, but they cared about this country. But they really did care about the country. They might not have cared about us, but they cared about the country. They had a code. Everybody wants a brand. This is what people complain about, whether you agree with them or not. There's a reason why DC should not be Hollywood, right? DC, we don't need brands, we don't need labels. What we need is people to roll up their sleeves and go to work and do what they're supposed to do because they work for us.
Come on.
This whole idea of wanting to trend, coming up with these names and these brands, this country is a mess. It is a mess. People at the bottom are suffering. We are striking. The writers are striking. I'm currently striking because we can't get a decent wage. And I have the luxury of doing what I love to do for a living. There are people that are, we call them essential for a couple of months because they were risking their lives for us, and then we forgot about them all over again. It's just unbelievable, unbelievable. And I'm tired of these people with these brands and these names and this corny stuff. There ain't nobody over there telling the truth. They are surrounded by a bunch of sycophants, and ain't nobody saying, yeah, I don't think this is the move.
Yep, that is it. I'm tired of it too. Just all they gotta do is do a good job, which is to truly change material conditions and not label stuff. Yeah. Putting lipstick on a pig. and trying to make us think that there's something glamorous about this pig. It's still a pig, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. But the president, is going to Chicago. They're going all out on this Bidenomics stuff, economic success. So Biden heads to Chicago on Wednesday to talk Bidenomics. Remarks the White House is billing as a major address. The president will also fundraise, of course he will, while in Chicago, hitting another blue stronghold for cash ahead of his 2024 campaign finance report in July. Really, America, really? That's why we need campaign finance reform, because they will hit the road for that. But he couldn't gas up the jet and take his behind to East Palestine, Ohio. But he gassing up the jet to go raise some money in Chi-Town. That he will do. Ahead of the Chicago trip, the White House fielded questions over the risk of self-branding. Hello, Ida just said that. An economic policy and why now, considering the inflation rate could hike again next month. While the Federal Reserve opted last month to not raise interest rates, hell, they didn't raise them high enough. I'm glad they didn't. It could reassess the decision next month, making perhaps just a temporary reprieve for Americans. Now, the administration and Biden campaign can use last month's slightly ticked down inflation, slightly, Jesus Christ. Report to back the notion the president has been able to turn the economy around, but he'll have to work to do to convince some voters who feel financially worse off. See, this ain't about a feeling though. This is real. This ain't superficial. It's not artificial and it's not superficial. It's real. And that's what y'all need to understand in this report. There's no amount of branding that is going to change the fact that people's dollars are not going as far as they once were able to. That people are suffering in this country more and more. So y'all can brand away. It will take Jesus Christ to come down here and baby, listen. Woo, Republicans are offering their take on this trip. Alfredo Ortiz, CEO of the conservative leading Job Creators Network, had a zing for Biden for being calling the failed economic agenda Bidenomics. Well, hell, even a broke clock is right twice a day. Let me go and read this, stop commentating in between y'all. Y'all know how I get. Calling this failed economic agenda Bidenomics won't change the fact that Biden's presidency will be forever remembered by Bidenflation and stagflation. Well, listen, I don't know about forever. Y'all Republicans shouldn't be opening y'all mouths to say anything. Don't say nothing because you part of the problem. However, your point about this is spot on. Now, putting aside the propaganda, Ida and I, we're gonna really try hard to put aside the propaganda from the neoliberals and right wingers. They all cut from the same cloth. Let's really break down what's been happening under the Biden administration. And President Trump, he not off the hook either, but we're gonna focus in on President Biden. I want you to check out this excerpt from that article from The Hill. The president is set to tout his economic agenda to argue building the economy from the bottom up. Ooh, Ida, I can't stand this slogan. Building the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. This is put Ida up, put the graphic up. I mean, you wanna talk about some lame, this is lame as hell, y'all. Building the economy from the bottom up and the middle out is working. Newsflash, baby, it ain't working. It's not working. He has often said he's tired of trickle down economics, which was part of the former President Reagan's Reaganomics. Why the hell you got Bidenomics? While at the same time reminding voters he is a capitalist. What in the new level of hell? Ida, what level of hell are we in? Because I done lost track.
You know what it is? It is a very big statement about the state of the educational system in this country and the education system and where people are. And now everybody, not just Donald Trump, everybody is insulting the American people because they make the assumption that these people do not have information and don't know what they're talking about. They speak with they use these trigger words. They say the things that they want to hear. You know what? There's this elitism in this country where they look down on basic skills and plumbers and electricians where you can make a good living in this country. We are a hot mess. It is. The Kardashians have bled into the White House, and now that phenomenon that lives in Hollywood is living there now. These people want to be rock stars, they want to have brands, they want to be rich, they want to live a good life, and they don't give a damn about the American people. Crime rates are up. People are suffering. They can't go to the doctor because they don't have health care. It is getting worse. When you say from the bottom up, you have not been to the bottom. You're not going to the South Side when you go to Chicago to understand what is happening to the people. It is a constant insult and slap in the face of the American person that has to go to work every day. And for some reason, they hear these words and they keep supporting these people because they don't know any better. And if you don't know better, you can't do better.
That's it, from the bottom up to the middle out. Like you said, they ain't going to where nobody is at the bottom economically or in the middle. No. He gonna go there, get his press conference, and then they going to the upper echelons to raise a whole lot of money. That's what's about to happen in Chi-Town. And there's video proof of this. Do y'all remember during the race? I'm old enough to remember 2020. Look at this.
Talk to the voters that are worried about socialism and you raising taxes.
First of all, I guarantee, I promise, I've never broken my word. Anyone making less than $400,000 will not see one single penny in their tax raised. Number two, I beat the socialists. That's how I got elected. That's how I got the nomination. Do I look like a socialist? Look at my career, my whole career.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. No, you don't look like a socialist. And yeah, you kept reminding people all during the 2020 presidential election, even as Senator Bernard Sanders from the great state of Vermont supported your campaign, but you made sure folks knew that you were not the socialists. No surprise there, dumping on the man even as he supported your campaign. And now looking at this president's entire career, looking at Biden, it would take far too long. So let's see if material conditions have really improved for people under his watch. This headline from just last year, 3.7 million kids just slipped back into poverty after the Biden child tax credit expired and Congress isn't restoring it soon. Y'all put Aida up. This is some BS, America. So don't believe what comes out of these people's mouths. Believe what they do. This was something that was purely in this president's control, and in the last Congress, Democrats controlled both chambers, but 3.7 million kids slipped back into poverty. And if it was that easy for them to slip back into poverty, they wasn't that far from poverty when the child tax credit was a reality. But instead of these people making it permanent and expanding it and even increasing it, these cowards let it go away. Talking about the kids slipped back. No, they was pushed back. They was catapulted back into poverty. And if the kids are in poverty, that means that their mamas and their daddies in poverty too. My God, my God. And guess what? It still hasn't been restored because of Biden's insistence of shaking hands with the backstabbers, because he's one of them, like Shadow President Joe Manchin and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He says his economic plan is to build from the middle class, except there's just one problem. Between 1970 and 2021, the share of US aggregate income earned by the middle class shrunk from formerly 62% to just 42%. At the same time, aggregate earnings by those considered high income increased from 29% to 50%. Why? Because of unchecked capitalism. You know, the guy that just raved and bragged about, I'm a capitalist. Unchecked capitalism exploits the working class. He knows it, but he just doesn't care. Or how about this headline right here? Low income Americans face a hunger cliff as SNAP benefits are cut. The US Food Assistance Program offered expanded benefits during the COVID emergency, but they ended last month. And this map right here that we're about to put up for you paints a depressing but necessary picture to understand the share of individuals making near or below the poverty line. Do y'all see what's happening in America? The source of this is CNBC, and this headline from just last month seals the deal. Right here, only 33% of Americans approve of Biden's handling of the economy, new poll finds. So Biden claims he wants to build from the bottom up and the middle out. You can't, because there's no middle to build from. Aida?
You know, this whole the capitalism thing, you know, he's taking a page out of Trump's book. It is this aspirational delusion that they feed to Americans that they too can be where they are without accounting for the privilege and the the hand that they have gotten and where they are, that the average American doesn't have that. They have been feeding American people this foolishness. The definition of socialism has been appropriated to scare people into not being China and Cuba, but they won't tell the truth about why they're peddling these stories to the people, because they have these people. How many of them states where people are slipping back into poverty and hunger are red states? How many of them? Because quite a few of them are. This continuous story about healthcare, when it comes to the welfare, when it comes to assistance, look at the eviction rate has gone up. Like people are going back into, becoming unhoused. It is out of control. And they keep saying it is better, but when they don't, what they neglect to say, it's who it's getting better for, and it's them, the homies, the owners of the corporations, the CEOs, the people who have all the money in this country who are doing just fine. But go and poll the average American, and where you are in every single state, people are suffering. They are struggling. They can't keep their jobs. They're not getting paid a decent wage. They can't keep their homes. They can't feed their children. Their children are turning to the streets for crime. This is not a black and brown issue. There's a lot of poor people in this country who are white, who are on those SNAP benefits. And a lot of them will vote to spite. They will spite, bite their nose to spite their faces. They will
cut their nose to spite their face. Yeah.
They keep voting for these people, and those people don't care about them, and it's gonna get worse.
Well, I said on the show yesterday that working class people don't have, most of these duopolies are cut from the same cloth. And what we need to do as working class people in this country is form solidarity based on being in the working class, not based on who's Democrat or Republican, but to forge a true alliance that takes into account all working people. Because if you ain't got a sugar daddy or sugar mama or sugar somebody, if you can't afford to take 3 months off, 5 months off, 6 months off, 7 months off, a year without suffering, if you are one major healthcare scare away from ruin, then you are in the working class. And we need, and some of us are, blessed to be maybe at the top of the working class, some are in the middle, barely, and some are at the bottom. But baby, we work for a living. And we need to form some solidarity to each other. Forget the duopoly, they are all together on this. Trust me, they go to dinner together, they socialize together, they hee it up together, laughing their butts off all the way to the bank. How is it people go to that Congress, many of them, in the working class, and they come out millionaires? Hello, somebody, a bunch of somebodies, multi-millionaires. I ain't got nothing. I don't have nothing against wealth, but it's how you make your wealth. And they grifting their behinds off. And we got a double header in our WTF neoliberal. We got yet another derailment. America, there's been another train derailment. Yes, this time in Montana, 10 cars derailed. The company Montana Rail Link, Montana train derailment raises fears of similar disasters on proposed Uinta Basin railway. The Stillwater County, Montana Sheriff's Office said it was a great stroke of luck that none of the train cars were carrying oil that would have polluted the Yellowstone River. Thank God for that. But we shouldn't have to be on a hope and a wing and a prayer to keep our waterways clean. A freight train derailment and the collapse of the bridge over the Yellowstone River in Montana on Saturday raised alarms as several cars carrying asphalt and molten sulfur tumbled into the river, prompting officials to take emergency measures as nearby water plants. The incident also brought to mind for some critics the Biden administration's plan to move forward with a railway project along the Colorado River, one that could place the drinking water of 40 million people at risk as trains transport crude oil from eastern Utah's basin to national rail lines. And people have good reason, America. People have good reason to be skeptical and to be concerned about the Biden administration and about how it is handling or mishandling matters of national transportation, be it rail or air. It is under this administration that the epic failures of Southwest happened, the failure of Norfolk happened. All of those happened under this administration. And the residents of East Palestine, speaking of Norfolk, are still not made whole. And they are still suffering, and they are raising and sounding the alarm, both on the state and the federal level. Transportation Secretary Mayor Pete Buttigieg had this to say when he was questioned a few months ago about the train derailment in East Palestine.
Rail safety is something that has evolved a lot over the years, but there's clearly more that needs to be done because while this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
In other words, don't worry, folks, nothing to see here. This kind of stuff happens all the time. What you sweating me for? Don't worry about this. It's par for the course. I'm gonna tell you something, America. I would not put Pete Buttigieg in charge of a tricycle race. Ida. Seriously.
It is. I mean, the gross disrespect of humanity in this country has become normal. It's just become par for the course. The lack of respect for human life because it's below the poverty line, and because of what you look like and what you sound like and where you are, it is disrespectful. And to watch these politicians that are all within the same circle and the same gang, the same ring, it feels like that vampire TV show that used to be on HBO. These are the vampires, and the way they treat America, True Blood, the way they treat Americans, it is just egregious. And I'm so sad that people put their hope and their faith into all of these people because they don't realize that they don't care about them. They manipulate the American people, they trigger them, they play to their weaknesses, they play to their desperation, and these people still sitting around thinking that all these clowns are gonna do something for them. Whose life has gotten better under what administration? Tell me, I'll wait. Which administration has made life better for people of color in this country, Black people, made it better for poor people in this country, for LGBT? Who has made it better? Here you talk about a queer man who has privilege, and it is lost on him that all these people that are poor, that live in these communities are struggling, and they need these trains to work for their livelihoods. Not just, the poison that we're talking about that is killing people, but yeah. I just say that we have to become awake. I mean, the reason they killed the great Fred Hampton was because he was doing exactly what they defend, and it has gotten worse. And that was when it's gotten worse. It
has gotten worse. It's funny you would bring him up. I was just talking to a good friend of mine about Fred Hampton just the other day. Fred Hampton told the truth. He knew what it was, and he was building alliances, even with some people who, he went to white supremacists actually and said, "Hey, we got the same problem here." It's the man, the foot is on all of our neck. We need to build some coalitions here. Fred Hampton was just really one of a kind. Not many people would have walked into the lion's den in the way that he did, but he did that. He was a very young man, only in his early 20s, but he just had the mindset of somebody who had been here before, and the government killed that man. And that's a story for another time. The rail company is, according to them, no one was hurt. The initial testing of the air and water proves that everything is okay, even though sulfur, which is using an insecticide and fungicide and rodenticide is often used in fertilizers, is in play here in 2 of those rail cars. But you know what? David Sirota summed this right on up with his tweet. I mean, I think he just put the icing all the way on the cake on this. He said, as you see this horrible news from Montana, please remember that the Biden administration is advancing a plan to let oil trains run along the banks of the Colorado River. We should say no to that. We should say hell no to that. Please, Lord, no to that. Don't let the Biden administration do this. Again, they not ready and they are not capable. And to pollute people's water like that, put people's water in jeopardy when we know this administration can't handle it, no, it would be a problem, very disastrous. And as I said, I wouldn't let Buttigieg run a tricycle race, okay? He ain't ready, and he gonna try to run for president. So y'all better remember this. East Palestine, you better remember this, baby. Yellowstone, remember it. All right. Ooh, pizza. The right is blaming woke ideology. Now, y'all gonna hear me lecture about woke. They don't even know what woke meant. The term was co-opted by neoliberals and some liberal white folks who didn't understand what woke meant in the black community. Now it's a buzzword that the right is using. Don't even know how they're just using it. They just in vain. They're using it. Okay, I'm gonna continue to remember to remind you that the way that they are defining woke, be they neoliberals or conservative, is wrong. However, here we go. They blaming woke ideology in the protest of proposed pizza oven crackdown. Watch this.
The woke ass idiots who run this city are doing everything in their power to destroy it. We have naked men with their bouncing around all over the city yesterday, in public, in front of children. We have the most violent, raging crime rate ever. We are being invaded by illegal immigrants who are being treated way better than our homeless veterans, our teachers, and first responder heroes who were fired, still not compensated because they didn't take the Fauci injection. Our city schools produce the dumbest kids, and the woke-ass punks who run New York City are afraid of pizza. The world used to respect New Yorkers as tough, thick-skinned, and gritty. You heard of the Boston Tea Party? Well, this is the New York, this is the New York Pizza Party. Give us pizza or give us death. Pizza or give us death. Give us pizza or give us death.
Woo, baby, put Ida up. Ida, brother wasn't playing. See, he wasn't playing.
I wonder how many days
New Yorkers, people don't even respect New Yorkers no more, he said.
I wonder how long it took him to write that speech. He really went in. He really was like, I got bars. Like, he sat down and he put everything. He is the epitome of what I am talking about in this country, about getting your information from articles on the internet and not being informed on what is really happening. And the reality is that he thinks that woke people, I have jokes about that, the performative woke people that have taken the term and what you said, you just said it, I don't have to say it. But it's just so funny because those are the prime targets. Those are the people that these politicians know they can rile up. That's a Donald Trump person right there. They believe that everybody's trying to make everybody gay, that they don't want them to, they're coming for the pizza, really, bro? It's so sad. It makes me sad because I know that his information is coming from one place and that there is an algorithm that sees to it that all of his information comes from the same place.
Ooh, I don't know why he would waste that good pizza though. I'm hurt. I'm really hurt by that. I still respect the pizza. I want him to know. Now I don't eat much of it because it ain't good for the hips all the time that I'm trying to keep, together. However, every now and then I do partake in some pizza, baby, and I do go to New York. Don't waste the pizza. All them hungry people in New York, you throwing pizza over the gate. Let's take a look at what Dave Portnoy had to say.
Apparently, in New York City, some liberal arts, Ivy League, pink-haired, crazy liberal who's never worked one day in the real world is on an environmental commission. And they woke up from their little nappy poo, wherever that may be. Like, I figured out how to save the world today. We have to get rid of coal oven pizzerias in New York City. We gotta stop that, the emissions, I guess is pollution, blah, blah, blah.
Now, Dave, why they gotta have pink hair? Don't do that to the pink hair people. Them fools don't got no damn pink hair. The people is doing, why? Why he hating on pink hair? Don't do it. Now, the New York Department of Environmental Protection has drafted new rules when it comes to coal and wood fire ovens used in pizza restaurants. The rule would force places using the ovens to cut their carbon emissions by up to 75%. Now there should be a way though, come on y'all. Now New York, come on, there's a way, there should be a way to solve this, a way to cut back on emissions without targeting small businesses. Come on, we got to find a fix for this. Y'all don't do this to the pizza people. I kind of agree with that, but I don't agree to what extremes they just labeling, stereotyping folks. But they got to, where there is a will to find a solution, there's a way. Tax write-off of businesses that purchase emission control devices, maybe? Maybe could that be a fix, New York? Or grandfathering in existing pizzerias. There should be a way, New York, to have clean air and good pizza. Can we work on that? Then brother ain't got to throw that damn pizza over that gate like that, wasting that pizza when people hungry in these streets. Aida, in these streets.
I'm hungry right now.
In these streets.
The United States government has done a really good job to put the onus of all the mistakes and all the horrible things that they've done to the planet and to the country on the individual and the small businesses. They tell you to recycle, they tell you to buy a Tesla, they tell you to buy an electric car, but they don't tell the corporations to stop spilling that damn oil into the ocean. They don't tell you. Yeah, it's the penalty on them. And then the American person, now you see these people who lack education, they don't have information. They think the immigrants are coming to get them. Everybody's trying to make their kids gay. They don't have the information, so they're always being triggered and emotionally driven. But the truth is that the unjust onus that the government is putting on the United States American citizen with all the other stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We gotta save the planet. Sure, we gotta do our part, but y'all gotta stop doing this. When it comes to the ocean, don't throw your plastics. Don't do this with the straw. What are you doing? How are you regulating what these corporations are doing, which are doing the majority of the damage to the planet?
I mean, coming after small businesses in this way, and even though I might not necessarily like the messengers, I mean, their point about coming down on these businesses, there has to be a way to help them come into compliance with emissions, because everybody got to do their part. We all need clean air, clean food, clean water. There really is no way around that. I mean, we need it to live, to live optimally. However, it's an and help these small businesses. Now, the rule could require pizzerias, we back to the rules here, with ovens installed prior to May of 2016 to buy emissions control devices that cost at least $10,000. So that's why we asked, is there a way to either grandfather them in or give them a tax write-off for getting a new oven or something like that? According to DEP, this affects 50 to 60 pizzerias in New York City. So now we know why brother was so upset throwing that good pizza over the fence. A city official said that under 100 restaurants total would be impacted. One pizza restaurateur who requested anonymity told the Post that sensitive negotiations are currently taking place with DEP officials on whether to grandfather in or exempt the dozens of coal and wood oven fired pizza joints from the mandate. We got to be able to do that. Now here's a statement from DEP spokesperson Ted Timbers. All New Yorkers deserve pizza. No, I'm sorry, let me read this. All New Yorkers deserve to breathe healthy air, and wood and coal fire stoves are among the largest contributors of harmful pollutants in neighborhoods with poor air quality. The common sense rule developed with restaurants and environmental justice groups requires a professional review of whether installing emission control is feasible. It is feasible. Let's look at this as a win-win. How can we do both things? Make sure that we make the air quality in New York better, and also make sure that we provide some relief for those small business owners so they don't gang up once again and throwing good pizza over the fence. Don't do that, y'all. And for the love of God, leave the pink-haired people alone. Don't mess with them. Aida, it has been absolutely tremendous to have you on Unbossed today. Please, you all, don't forget to pre-order Aida's book. Aida, where can they get the book once again?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They can go to funnyaida.com, AIDA, and yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I always have a good time with you.
I always have a fantastic time with you, and I can't wait till you're back again. And we cooking up something for them. It ain't pizza though, but we cooking something up. All right, we will see you next time, baby. You know what I want you to do. I want you to keep the faith always, always, always. I know it is damn hard these days to keep the faith. Keep that faith and marry it with a whole lot of fight. Until next time.